Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Full Court Press. This episode we're going to be talking about the RecBall finals as well as the All-Star game, and we're going to have our awards ceremony. So let's get right into it. For the championship game, Team Lombardo takes the win over Team Martin 55-45. And it was a relatively close game all around, but then they just ran away with it in the end like they usually do.
Yeah, I think the scoreboard doesn't really do this game justice. This game, I don't think it was really a 10-point game. I think it was like maybe we lost by 5, and then we kind of just lost it at the end. Ari started taking over. But all around, it was a good game, I think. We had a very good first half, and then we sort of faded. McGinn went back to their bread and butter and just pulled away, and we kind of ran out of gas.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking during this game or after this game was we never really felt nervous. Even though we were down a couple points at like midway through the game, we really felt comfortable because the majority of the season we were always kind of trailing at the beginning, and we were so used to making comebacks. I think that's what really helped us, and I just think we were so confident in our team that it didn't really matter if you were down 5. We knew we were capable of like going back.
Yeah, the whole game we were like feeding off the fans, which did a great job in the first half. Then we kind of, once they died down, we died down as well. And McGinn really is very used to being the villain, so they don't really need anybody cheering for them to do well. And they pulled away.
Yeah, I thought that was a good point, Tommy, about how you guys weren't nervous because from a fan perspective, even at halftime when Team Martin Sassetti was up, I think the consensus was Team Lombardo was going to win this game. I was just surprised it was as close as it was. I think Team Lombardo was just really too good of a team. Ari played a great game. He got every board. He puts them up as well. They used to have so many shooters. I just kind of felt like how long can Team Martin kind of hold on?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like this game was a little bit like your game against Nagy. Like you guys were just running the clock. Once we got up like 4 or 5, we were just trying to see how quickly this game could go over and if we could hold the lead for a little bit longer. But then what kind of happened to you guys, what you stepped up, was you guys started knocking down every shot. Michael went off. Ari, great game.
Yeah.
Jared, great game. Yeah. You had a phenomenal game, 9 points, not on the score sheet. But honestly, we did a pretty good job in the first half, holding you guys. I'm pretty sure Michael went off in the first half, but then you guys kind of leaked out in the second half.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think I haven't really seen Michael be that aggressive in a couple of games. I think at the start of the season he was super, super aggressive, and that's why he was dropping 25, 26 a game in the first couple of games. But I didn't really see that aggressiveness until this game, which I was really excited because he was just going at your defense every time. He was not afraid to shoot the ball, which was really great to see.
Yeah, clutch players make clutch plays.
Yeah.
When it matters.
Yeah, Tommy, you had a few timely threes in there, and I just want to shout you guys out because, unlike every other rec team, you guys really don't falter under pressure. You've faced pressure the whole season. Every team, every week, they want Team Lombardo to lose, and they don't lose. So it's just
It's unfortunate, but it's true.
I want to also say, I have a lot of respect for your team. I think, AJ, you got a lot coming for you next year. I really want to see you step up as well. I know you're going to do big things. But also I want to talk about we kind of covered the conference finals game with Nagy. I really felt like that was a kind of a mini championship game in a way because I feel like the fans honestly were more of an impact in that Nagy game in the finals, which was kind of surprising because we were going into this game thinking it was going to be even worse than the Nagy game. So I think if the fans maybe stepped up a bit, it maybe would have impacted Team Martin winning.
I think we kind of gave it our all, to be honest. I think also we were a little demoralized after seeing that Nagy, the ending of that Nagy game. I kind of felt like Nagy had the better chance because I thought they match up better against you guys than Team Martin does, as good as Team Martin has been this season. And I think other people might have felt. But at the end of the day, I think you guys just played good, really well. I think no matter how loud we could have been, I don't see the result changing.
That's true. All right, moving on to the All-Star game of this year. Much closer than last year, 58-50 victory for Team Henderson over Team Connor, coached by our very own Drew Gray. And it was just a great game all around. Jared had 14, OT had
also
13.
Coached by our very own AJ Tarzia.
Thanks, Rahim. Thank you for
I forgot about that.
recognition.
I thought it was a
Thanks for that.
coach.
Yeah, it was my coaching debut. Coach Drew has had a few wins under his belt. I'm still looking for my first one, but I think 8 points differential is a pretty good game for my coaching debut.
Well, Jared had 14, OT had 13, Lombo had 12, and Tommy had 14 on the other team. So Team Lombardo was again dominating the score sheet. And moving on from that, let's go straight to the award ceremony for this season. So, without further ado, the MVP for the regular season is Rahul Paramal. Very big congratulations to Rahul. Definitely deserves it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, heading into this season, I'm pretty sure in our preseason rankings, Cespedes wasn't even like the top 7, I don't think.
I think we had him at 11.
Yeah, we
if
had
I'm
him
not
second to
mistaken.
last.
Yeah, that's actually
12.
crazy.
Yeah, but Rahul, nobody could have forecasted this. I think Mr. Cespedes did a great job in like keeping Rahul confident, and like if you miss a shot, just go down and take another one just like it. Just believe in yourself, and he really stepped up for this team. And I think he's the only reason that they had that much success, because they like Rahul doing so well takes your eyes off Julian and Camden, and when they step up, they're a pretty hard team to beat.
You know, Rahul obviously winning MVP, that's a huge accomplishment. Congrats to you. I'm really interested to see what will happen next year with this team. If he'll team up with Julian again, what will Team Cespedes do? Will they be hungry for another championship or for a championship after they're coming short in the playoffs? So I think they have a lot of good things coming to them.
Yeah, I think they'll be back for sure. I think they had a rough game against Meyer, but I think that if they played Meyer again, they'd probably come out with a win. But Meyer stepped up when it mattered. But I think the Cespedes team will be back next year.
I think the biggest thing for Rahul was just how consistent he was. I remember like week 4, round 3, we were kind of like talking, okay, maybe he's like an all-star guy, but he never let up. Like every single week we would watch him play, and he hit 3 after 3, do a crazy spin move, get a layup. I mean, just every single week I thought he played like incredibly. So he absolutely deserves this award. And I mean, especially winning it as a junior, the way he dominated the league.
Yeah.
Next year's going to be scary.
Yeah, exactly.
And no matter like what you threw at him, whether it was a double team, a triple team, a box and one, he still somehow managed to get to the top of the score sheet every single game, which is just a wild sight to see. The last time I saw this kind of play from a junior was Jackson Berry, back when I was in 8th grade. Like he was the last junior to win the MVP award for RecBall. All right, moving on to the Defensive Player of the Year. Congratulations to Julian Cespedes for a win at the Defensive Player of the Year. That is a very good sight for Julian.
Yeah, I mean, he played great all year. Part of the reason why this team Cespedes was so good. I mean, just thinking about it, like they had so many good players. It's kind of a shame that they didn't go farther in the playoffs, but I thought he played like really good defense. I only got to play him in a scrimmage, but even in that scrimmage in a game that didn't matter, he played great defense in that game.
Yeah, he's just a big body all around in the paint. He's really just everywhere. You step into the paint, he's on you, hands up. No, he's not one to foul that much unless you really get into him, which is good. We love to see that out of our deploys, but he definitely did really good this season. Rahim, you came up just short. If it was up to me, I think it's a very close competition, and I definitely would have liked to see this one-on-one against Julian, and there's the two defensive masterminds going against each other.
One thing to mention about Julian is that he'd also play on the top of the key as well when they run their 3-2. Sometimes he'd be down low, sometimes he'd be up top, so that's very versatile for your depoy.
Oh, yeah. I think also another great defensive player this year, I know he won it last year, but I think Brady Henderson deserves a mention. That guy just has no quit. He will just run all over the court, get every single rebound. Like, even if he'll like make a mistake on the offensive end, he runs all the way down, gets the ball right back. He just has unlimited energy.
It seems like he's like photosynthesizing, like.
I've never seen someone just keep going the way that he does. It's incredible.
The next award we have is Coach of the Year, and again, another win for Team Cespedes. The winner of Coach of the Year goes to Coach Cespedes. They're absolutely dominating the award ceremony today.
I mean, like you said, they started out in our preseason rankings at 11, worked their way up to bye in the seed 4. You know, really incredible. You know, I think we kind of underestimated this team on paper. You know, we didn't know a lot of the guys. Maybe they weren't, you know, great basketball players like growing up, but they really like kind of showed their strengths in the season. And you know, absolutely shout out to Coach Cespedes. He did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, Team Cespedes practiced before us at Armstrong, and in between like the end of their practice and the beginning of mine, I like to talk to him and talk about our upcoming matchups. And he knows so much about the game. And it's definitely an advantage to have him on your side. He's telling me so much about like the type of defense, how to break their defense, what to look for, what star players, actually sleepers they need to look out for that'll knock down a 3 and just kill you. He's definitely like very into this RecBall, and it's definitely a huge help.
He's also the one team to take down Team Lombardo again.
That
That hurts.
That is true.
Yeah, not only were his schemes really good, but I think he got like the best out of every single player. I think the best coaches like get like the most energized teams. You can't win unless you don't have a great coach like making sure that you're playing defense, you're running back, you're hustling for the rebound, you're boxing out. And I mean, Mr. Cespedes did that all year. He was also in the analytics side. You know, we were all looking forward to his breakdown of the advanced power rankings each week. So absolutely deserved.
When you were describing how Coach Cespedes brings out the best of each player, I couldn't help but think of Coach Nagy. I mean, he didn't win, but he was a very good contender this year. He started off the season very hot, 4-0, and then sort of declined after that. But I think that he was also a pretty good contender for Coach of the Year.
That's actually a really interesting point because we were kind of saying also at the beginning of the season, this team is built upon their scheme. You know, they don't really have per se the best offensive players, but their defensive scheme is really what they built upon, and you know they really capitalized on that. They did a phenomenal job as well. Coach Nagy will just throw out 100 defenses at you, shown in the Henderson-Nagy game in the playoffs, semifinals. It was just insane. You know, definitely well coached.
Yeah, and also the game against you, your team's down. Nagy's down like 17 or I forget what it is. You're down double digits, down a lot, no momentum. And then Nagy calls a timeout, reels his team back in, and they go out and just knock down 3 after 3 after 3. And
that was no accident. Like,
definitely. Coach Nagy is known for this.
They set up Connor very well, and he knows what he's doing for sure.
That was an incredible comeback for sure. More than a 20-point deficit in the first quarter, and then tied at the end of the game before Tommy's game-sealing three-pointer.
Yeah, I think Coach Lombardo also deserves a mention. I
Definitely.
mean, as talented as your team was, you're not winning it without Coach Lombardo. He like gets you guys like all in the right spot and like make sure you're like hustling and playing good defense. But I think another coach that deserves another shout out is Mr. Levesque. Him and Mr. Henderson won it last year, but Mr. Levesque is such a good coach. He like knows so much about the game. I think he's kind of the reason that we were so good this year is because we just had so much like defensive intensity and we just like never quit, and I think a lot of that is due to Mr. Levesque.
Fun fact, isn't he a former college basketball player as well?
I believe he is.
Yeah. I also kind of want to go back to Coach Lombardo, my coach. I think it was really interesting because our team has a lot of ball-dominant players. That's kind of our problem last year is we had a lot of talent on paper, but it's kind of hard to manage all like the personalities and people sharing the ball and such. And Coach Lombardo did a great job. You know, we had fantastic chemistry. You know, each and every practice, he didn't joke around. Like we had a mission each and every practice, and it's really hard to manage a bunch of ball-dominant players, but he did it perfectly. So.
Yeah, and also I'm not sure how much of a basketball background Ari had, but definitely some work was put in there.
Yeah, we tried to develop him
so much. Like he'd get the board and go up, and it's automatic. He doesn't miss the bunnies, and that really is just insane for rec ball. Because like a layups, let's face it, a fast break layups 50-50 in rec ball, and I think that's what adds to it, especially coming from me. It's more like 25% make, but yeah, it definitely shows a lot when Ari doesn't miss a layup. Like coming off not a lot of basketball experience, shows a lot about the coach.
Yes, definitely a great year from Coach Lombardo as well. Now moving on to the Underclassmen of the Year award, and a very slim victory, which was not expected. Ari Jane will take home the Underclassmen of the Year award.
Very close competition though. Thomas Cashman had 30% of the votes, and Ari Jane had 35%. So very slim margins.
Yeah, and then Ananta was 16%. He's definitely like the hype beast of this team. He brings all the energy, and really, he's a crowd favorite, and I think that'll swing any team like regardless of what team you're on, you want Ananta to win. So that'll definitely bring the motivation, and I'm looking forward to what he can do next year. I think his record is 6 points, I believe.
He did score 6 points against us.
We'll go in the history books for sure.
I'm looking for double digits out of you, Ananta, next year.
Yeah, I think Ari Jane, as good as T Cash has been this year, Ari Jane, I feel like he has to win this award. I mean, he just got every single rebound. Like, he shut down Brady against us. He can do anything. He blocked me like 3 times. Like, he's just such a force in the paint. And then, as you mentioned earlier, AJ, like how he got better and better offensively. Like, I mean, he had to win this award, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
There's also a lot of players that we don't mention are the underclassmen. We kind of really focus on this podcast a lot on the upperclassmen, I think. But I think now that we're going to be gone next year, there's a lot of guys that are going to really have to step up in their role, be the leader of their team. And I'm kind of interested. What do you guys think are the upcoming stars of this league, the rising stars, if you will?
I think Noah Norse is the person that he's going to dominate the next 2 years. I mean, he was so good this year. He had like 12 points a game. He made a ton of layups, got a ton of rebounds, played great defense. I mean, he had a ton of blocks this year too. I mean, he's going to be an all-star next year for sure. Maybe even an MVP season senior year.
That is a very bold take, Jake. One other person I'd like to mention from your team is Jelani. He is definitely, in my opinion, the best freshman in the league right now. He consistently dropped more than 10 points a game, which is absolutely crazy for a freshman. You never see that. Next year, he could possibly get even better, maybe even like a junior year MVP race for him. And one other player I want to mention is John Colburn, who came into this league unknown and just lit up the score sheet from week 1.
He has to be arguably one of the most athletic kids
most
in
definitely.
RecBall.
He's so quick on the ball.
Yeah. I kind of want to mention another player is Tim Breen. You know, he's a junior this year, he'll be a senior next year. He's been in the league for 2 years. He came off a finals appearance last year. I don't think he had his best season per se, but he definitely had a pretty overall solid appearance, being an all-star and such. I want to see him really take over. He is definitely a pass-first guard. He probably was leading the league in assists with Max Dulé splashing it from the corner every time. But I think he can really step up, and on a contending team next year, he can make a big statement.
Yeah, when I heard like rising stars, I thought of 2 players, Andy C. and also Will Lake. Will Lake really stepped up when Joel wasn't there. He gave everyone buckets and got his own consistently. I think he dropped 20 against us. He can create his own shot. And in RecBall, that's deadly. If you can create your own shot and you don't really need your teammates, and you can be a go-getter to get your bucket, that's dangerous. And then Andy, he's a knockdown guy. I think if he can develop his like shot off the dribble, he can be a lot more dangerous than he is right now. But he has a full year off. But the confidence and the Andy Sellies are definitely there, and some might say that's the most difficult part about basketball, getting the confidence that once you miss a shot, you're gonna make the next one. But he definitely has that. So I'm looking for big things out of Andy next year.
Yeah. Just to wrap this up, I think what's really interesting is I'm curious to see who will team up next year. That's a huge factor of who you will draft, who you team up with, and I'm not sure who will team up, but I'm really looking forward to see what the teams will be.
I think Tim Breen has got to team up with Max Dulé. I think they just
Run
had
it back?
They didn't team up this year, I believe.
It was Kittredge.
Yeah, he teamed up with
Breen
Kittredge. But I think Tim has got to team up with Max. I mean, they just had such good chemistry. Tim kind of playing the facilitator role, getting rebounds, making great passes, and then Max just hitting a ton of shots. I think that's a duo that needs to happen again next year.
And also on that note, like Tim, you're coming off a year of coaching. Do you really want to play against Max? Like I wouldn't want to. I'm definitely gonna be hitting his line when it comes around that time. But yeah, if I'm Tim, I'm just gonna continue the chemistry that you've already grown and just work on it with your team and just try to create that supporting group.
Yeah,
the supporting cast that can really put this team back to what we thought they could have been this year.
And AJ, I'm excited to see what you're gonna do next year. I thought your game was really good this year. No one could get to the free throw line like you. You also facilitated the ball well, so I'm excited to see you play next year.
definitely.
Yeah, I think that I succeeded step 1 of getting to the line. I got to work more on the conversion. Step 2 is definitely going to take a while. But I definitely want to team up with somebody. I feel like that'd be fun to be able to draft your own team. But I don't know, I'm keeping my options open. Haven't decided anything yet.
The next award to give out is the playoff MVP, which will go to our very own Tommy McGinn. Honestly, an absolute masterclass this postseason. Tommy consistently dropped 15 plus per game, except for the finals where Michael went off. And he hit that game-winning shot versus Nagy, which is, what more could you ask, you know?
Yeah, that game-winning shot alone makes you deserve this award. I mean, that was probably the shot of the season.
Even without it, though, he's still dropping 15 automatic from 3. I think in that game you hit like 4 threes in the corner in a row. They're like automatic, same spot, nobody would stop you. I think even without that buzzer beater and you guys go home, you still get this award. But that definitely put it over the top and just made it unanimous that you deserve the playoff MVP.
One of the defining factors about you is that you can hit a 3 with the hand in your face, which is not what most players can do. Most players can hit a 3 when they're open in the corner, but even when there's a hand in your face, you can still get the shot off and make it, which is just insane for RecBall especially.
And also you can hit it from like a foot behind the line. Like it doesn't really matter where, as long as you're within your half, it could go in with you, which is really a good thing to have in your bag.
Appreciate it.
All right, well, the last award to give out for this RecBall season is the Most Improved Player Award. And this will go to Gray Sassetti, which is pretty well deserved in my opinion. He went from being a role player on Team Henderson last year to being one of the main scorers for Team Martin this year, and he dropped 20 multiple times.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Last year, he was like kind of our secret weapon. Like people would focus on like Jay or Brady, and then Gray would just hit a ton of threes from the corner. But this year, in like more kind of like central role, we talked in the beginning of the year how he needs to go from a role player to a an all-star level caliber player, and he went above and beyond our expectations. I mean, like you said, dropping 20, he could just drive to the basket, he could hit threes. He had a really good season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Gray is a very humble kid. You gotta respect it. Great player. I also want to give some light to Jake as well, very own Labio. He had a great season. He kind of had a similar position from Gray. He was kind of like a well above average role player on Team Henderson, and he really stepped up in the playoffs. And he came to form his own team, or came on his own team with Team Henderson again. And he was really good. He was dropping consistent double-digit points. He was fierce in the paint. He reminded me a lot of prime John Wall, his former favorite player. And I also want to give light to David Hilfiger as well. Also another extremely humble kid, really nice kid, and he's really lengthy. He can just drive and finish very well, and I think he'll also have someone with a very bright future next year. So
definitely knows how to use his height, especially.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think he was one of the more underrated defensive players this year.
Definitely.
I mean, in our game alone, I think he had like 5 blocks, so definitely a great player.
Yeah, and when I hear David, I just remember this corner 3 block that he had. He went coast to coast. That just absolutely highlight play on SportsCenter. I think that goes number 1 on any day of sports. But yeah, David had a great year this year. He's so lengthy. He shoots over anybody. Like, as if he can see the hoop, he can get his shot off, which is really great. Back to Gray. He's definitely like. Sorry, Brendan. I trust Gray the most. When we're down, we're missing shots. I know for sure that I can hit Gray on the wing, and it'll at least go in or have a soft touch off the rim that'll get us low, and then you can get it. Brendan can get it and put it back up. But Gray was really my go-to guy when things weren't going well, because he's either on the fast break or he's always ready to shoot his 3, which often went in. So definitely, he deserves this.
Definitely.
I was actually bored the other night, and I was watching the championship from last year, and I see Gray knocking down these threes. He's so much more aggressive. Like, he was always camping. We always say corner camping, but
yeah,
it was deadly when I watched that game. Yeah, he's definitely improved, and I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't think we make it to the championship without him. He's solid on defense as well. He locked up, I guess. I forget who he guarded in the championship, but I think that we did a good job against you guys. So shout out to Gray.
All right, well, on that note, we are nearing the end of our last episode of Full Court Press this season. I'd like to give a big shout out to Westborough TV and Mrs. Henderson for letting us film here every single week, always having a spot open for us. I'd like to give a big thank you to the rec department, Jen Kirkland, for setting up RecBall in general, all the refs, the scorekeepers, couldn't do it without them. I'd like to give a big thank you to Ms. Stoker,
Definitely.
because without journalism, we wouldn't even be able to film this podcast. So this is all thanks to her, and to my fellow crewmates for being alongside me the whole season, and just always being here and being good cast members.
I mean, I definitely want to say this has been the highlight of my day every day coming down here. Being able to do this podcast with you guys. It's really fun just to talk about something so simple like RecBall, but it's honestly such a big part of our life in a way.
It's really a good de-stress.
Yeah, it makes you really look forward to something, and that's what the beauty of RecBall is. And also thank you to the fellow crew members there, and we're gonna call them over here for one last sign off.
Beta makes another return.
Coming out of retirement. But anyways, for the final time, this is Full Court Press signing off.
That was smooth. Smooth outro.
That was good.
Thank you.